My name is Natalie Morgan, and at 27, I never imagined waking up to an empty house on Christmas morning. The silence hit first. No coffee brewing, no holiday music, no voices. Just stillness where there should have been joyful family chaos. Dirty breakfast dishes sat in the sink, cars gone from the driveway, and not a single note explaining why. Every year, our big family trip included 17 people, for cars, and this year, not one of them remembered me, or so they claimed. If you've ever felt invisible to the people who should see you most, let me know where you're watching from, and subscribe to hear what happened next. Growing up a Morgan meant you were never alone whether you liked it or not. My parents, Margaret and Thomas, had 3 kids. Amanda, the oldest, me, the middle child, Kyle, the youngest. Then came the aunts, uncles, cousins, basically roommates, with how often they visited. And being the middle child, it was exactly how people say Amanda was the golden child valedictorian, flawless. Kyle was the baby charming, spoiled, and me, I was just there, the reliable one, the one who remembered birthdays, kept the peace, organized the chaos. For 10 years, our Christmas trip was a family tradition. What began as a small getaway became a full-blown reunion. Cousins, aunts, uncles, even close friends. 16 of us last year, 17 this year, with Amanda's fiancé joining. I was always the planner. Need a location? Asked Natalie booking. Natalie's got it. Dietary needs, meds, entertainment. Natalie again. Even though I was often overlooked, I truly loved those trips. Last year, in the Smoky Mountains, we stayed in cozy cabins. Aunt Susan and I baked cookies all evening. Uncle Robert taught the kids card games. Mom actually complimented my decorations. And Dad, he asked my opinion about his retirement plans. For once, I felt seen. But family dynamics change like tides. And the past 6 months were a storm. Amanda got engaged to Ryan, a wealthy financial analyst. Their engagement party was grand. Mom cried tears of joy. Dad bragged about his brilliant daughter. Kyle got into Princeton. Suddenly, my parents were Princeton parents, decked out in university merch, already talking graduation. He hadn't even started classes. And me, I got promoted to senior account manager at the firm where I'd worked 5 years. Mom barely said that's nice. Dad only asked if it came with the raise, then looked disappointed when I explained it would kick in after my 6-month review. The extended family was shifting to cousin Rachel's husband, Jackson, had become my uncle's new best friend. Aunt Karen brought around Terry, who bonded with Dad over classic cars. Everyone seemed to be connecting, pairing off, finding their people. I remained the family utility tool, helpful but forgettable. Still, I was excited for this year's trip. I'd saved up, felt proud of my promotion, and hoped to be seen for more than just my role. I found a gorgeous resort in the Colorado mountains, booked it, put $15,500 on my credit card again, with promises they'd pay me back at Christmas. The resort had everything: private cabins, a lodge, skating rink, ski trails, fine dining. We held 3 family Zoom meetings. I presented activities, accommodation options, travel routes. Everyone was thrilled, especially about the snowmobiles and sledding. We agreed to drive, for cars, 20 hours. Family members shuffled to avoid conflict. I made custom packing lists, booked events, planned a gift exchange, even curated playlists and card games for the drive. Everything was in my name, charged to my card. I wanted this to be our best trip yet. But the signs were there, and I chose not to see them. Conversations stopped when I entered rooms. Texts about the trip went unanswered sometimes for days. Family get-togethers I wasn't invited to. 2 weeks before the trip, I overheard Mom and Amanda whispering in the kitchen. When I walked in, Amanda changed the subject. Just Christmas surprises, Mom smiled. Nothing for you to worry about. A few days later, Mom asked to borrow my credit card, just in case we need to make changes. It didn't make sense, but I let it go. The night before departure, we were all supposed to leave at 7 a.m. I stayed up till almost 2 a.m. wrapping last-minute gifts, checking the lists, set my alarm for 5:30, planned to shower, finish packing, and help load the cars. When I woke, sunlight poured through my blinds. I grabbed my phone. 9:15. How had I overslept? I jumped up, calling out as I rushed toward the hallway. Silence. Not the early morning kind. The empty kind. Mom, Dad. I ran from room to room, their beds made, closets empty, Amanda's room bare, Kyle's backpack and game console gone. Every room hit harder. I flew downstairs, living room, kitchen, dining room. Christmas lights still twinkled, mocking me, dishes stacked in the sink they'd eaten without me. I threw open the front door, the driveway empty except for my Honda. They were gone, all of them. I stood barefoot on the porch, breath fogging in the December air. My hands trembled. I ran back inside, grabbed my phone, checked messages. Nothing. No missed calls, no texts. No one even asked if I was okay. I called my mom. She answered on the fourth ring. "Good morning, sweetheart. Did you just wake up?" Behind her, Christmas music chatter, laughter. They were hours into the drive. "You left without me," I said, my voice small. A pause. "What?" "No, we wait. Aren't you in the van with your cousins?" My chest tightened. "No, Mom, I'm home, alone. I overslept. You all left without me." The pause stretched longer. I heard her whispering to someone else. When she returned, her voice had changed, less cheerful. Her voice sounded more concerned this time, but something about it felt rehearsed. "Oh, Natalie, there must have been a mix-up," she said, syrupy sweet. "We all thought you were riding in Rachel's van with the cousins. I'm so sorry, sweetie." In the background I heard my dad's voice. "We'll figure something out." "Did anyone even check if I was there?" I asked, trying not to let my voice break. "Before you left, did anyone look?" "Well, it was hectic," she said, her tone tightening. "You know how these mornings go, everyone rushing around. I guess we just assumed." "You assumed?" I repeated, flat. 17 people, not one of you noticed I wasn't there. Not during breakfast. Not loading the cars. Not during the head count I specifically suggested we do before leaving. "Natalie, don't be like that. It was an honest mistake. We'll figure something out. Maybe you can catch a flight and meet us there." Her voice grew distant. "I have to go. The reception's getting spotty. I'll call you back." "Okay." Click. The line went dead before I could even respond. I stood alone in the kitchen, in my pajamas, phone still in my hand. They had left, without me, and from the sound of it, they'd been gone for hours. I tried to stay rational. Maybe it was a mistake. Mornings like that can be chaos. Maybe they really did think I was in another car. I sat down at the table and opened my laptop, searching for last-minute flights to Colorado. The prices made me wince. But if this really was just miscommunication, I'd make it work. I'd salvage Christmas. While searching, I called my aunt, Patricia. She hadn't gone on the trip this year because of a recent hip surgery. "Aunt Pat, it's Natalie. Sorry to bother you, but something weird happened." I explained the situation, hoping for some kind of shock, maybe outrage. But instead, there was a long, uncomfortable silence. "Oh, sweetie," she finally said, her voice cautious. "I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding. Did you talk to your mom this morning? Or Amanda?" "I did. Rachel called earlier to say they were on the road. Everyone sounded like they were having a great time." "Did she mention me?" "Not specifically, no, Aunt Pat." "Do you know something you're not telling me?" She sighed. Long and heavy. "Natalie, I don't want to be in the middle of family matters. I'm sure this is all just a mix-up. Why don't you call your mom again?" The conversation left me hollow. I opened Instagram. Amanda had already posted road trip photos, group selfies in the car, breakfast at a roadside diner. Everyone smiling, laughing, celebrating the start of our Christmas trip without me. I scrolled through the comments. Cousin Rachel, best Christmas trip ever. Starting off right. Kyle, road trip vibes, Mom. So blessed to have almost everyone together this year. Almost. It struck like a slap. She knew I wasn't there. This wasn't a mistake. I checked Facebook, same thing. Posts, photos, laughs. But then I noticed something else. Several comments referenced a group chat. One I wasn't in. Just like we planned Operation Road Trip is a go. I searched my phone for group messages about the trip. Nothing. They'd created a separate thread. Without me. A chill crept up my spine as the pieces fell into place. Still, I didn't want to believe what it suggested. I spent the next 2 hours toggling between flight searches and unanswered calls to family members. No one picked up. No one texted back. Even Mom hadn't called again, like she said she would. Then a message popped up, from Amanda. It was a screenshot of a conversation. One line was highlighted. "He's really not here." Oh my God, our plan worked. Below it, Amanda had written, "Oops, wrong person. Ignore that." I stared at the screen, he, not she, like I wasn't even a person, just a nuisance. Something to remove, not someone to love. Our plan worked. There was no misreading that. They planned to leave me behind. I replied with just 2 words, "Merry Christmas." Then, I set my phone down and let the tears fall. 2 hours passed in numb silence. But Amanda's screenshot burned behind my eyes. He's really not here. Oh my God, our plan worked. Each time it echoed in my mind, it cut deeper. They hadn't forgotten me. They had excluded me. The buzzing of my phone pulled me from my thoughts. More texts from Amanda. "Natalie, it's not what it looks like. Please call me. That message wasn't about you. You're taking this the wrong way." I ignored them all. Instead, I opened my laptop and logged into our family's shared cloud storage. We used it for photos, documents, even device backups. Amanda, in her usual absent-mindedness, always selected backup all whenever prompted. In the folder with her name, I found backups of her texts from the last month. I hesitated, just a second. Then, I opened them. What I found shattered what little hope I had left. Thread after thread, Amanda texting Mom, Rachel, Kyle, even Dad about the Natalie situation. Plans to make a separate group chat without me. Ideas for how to leave me behind without raising suspicion. From Amanda to Mom, 3 weeks ago. "Do we really have to bring Natalie? Last year she ruined Christmas with her drama." Mom replied, "She did book everything and it's all on her credit card, Amanda. So let her book it. Then we ditch her. Win-win." Another message with Kyle. "Mom's nervous about leaving Natalie behind." Kyle's response, "Just leave early. She sleeps like the dead. By the time she wakes up, we'll be halfway to Colorado." But the worst, a group text vote on whether or not to bring me. Final count, 3 yes, 12 no, 2 abstained. My parents voted no. Mom had initially said, "She is family. She arranged everything." But then, moments later, "I suppose you're right. It would be more relaxing without having to manage her feelings all the time." Manage my feelings, I whispered aloud, alone in the quiet house. And the drama they referred to. That was last Christmas. Cousin Mike had made another one of his jokes about me being single. I'd calmly asked him to stop. Told him it was hurtful. That was it. No yelling, no drama. Just a simple request for respect. But apparently, that was too much, too emotional, too difficult. The memories came flooding back, giving up my bedroom for relatives while Amanda refused to share hers. Working 2 jobs that summer to help my parents during Dad's unemployment, only for them to buy Kyle a car with the money. My accomplishments brushed aside, while theirs were paraded. Last Christmas, Mom snapped at me in the kitchen for slicing vegetables. Wrong, only to praise Amanda 5 minutes later for the same technique. Dad cut me off mid-sentence during gift exchange to point out something Kyle was doing. Aunt Susan forgot to include me in the family photo. No one noticed until I said something. I was the family scapegoat, the useful one, the invisible one. And I had always given them the benefit of the doubt. Told myself family's complicated, no one's perfect. Made excuses for the way they treated me. I thought about the time 3 years ago, when my parents were behind on mortgage payments, and I quietly wired them $8,000 from my savings. That $8,000 had been meant for a down payment on my own place. My parents never paid it back. When Kyle needed a laptop for school, I bought it. When Amanda's car broke down, I paid for the repairs. And this trip, this $15,500 booking on my credit card was no different. Every year, I handled the planning. Every year, they promised to pay me back by Christmas. Sometimes they did. Partially, more often, it was excuses, tight budgets, unexpected expenses, "We'll pay you soon." Money that never came. I started calling family members. Dad's phone went straight to voicemail. Kyle texted, in the middle of something, "We'll call later." Aunt Susan read my message. Never replied. Uncle Robert's phone rang endlessly. No answer. Finally, Rachel picked up. "Natalie, hey, what's up?" "Rachel," I said, voice firm. "I need you to be honest with me. Did everyone intentionally leave without me this morning?" A long pause. "I don't know what you're talking about. Please don't lie to me. Not you too." She sighed. "Look, it wasn't my idea. Okay. Amanda and Kyle organized everything. They said you're always complaining, always making things harder. They convinced everyone it'd be more fun without you, and you went along with it. What was I supposed to do? It was majority rule. You could have stood up for me. You could have warned me, and risked being excluded too. I didn't say goodbye. I just ended the call. Then I walked into my childhood bedroom, shut the door, and broke. Years of being overlooked, dismissed, and used came crashing down, all at once. I curled into myself on the bed, sobbing until my throat burned and my eyes swelled shut. As the December afternoon faded into cold, blue evening, I cycled through every stage of grief, shock, denial, bargaining. Maybe if I apologized for whatever I did wrong, maybe if I offered to stay in a separate cabin, maybe if I tried harder, they'd finally accept me. But as night fell, something shifted. The fog lifted, and what replaced it was white-hot clarity. Anger, righteous, powerful, cleansing. I felt strangely hollow, but clear. I called Rachel back. "I need the full truth," I said when she answered. "No sugarcoating. No protecting anyone's feelings." "What exactly did they say about me?" She hesitated, then exhaled. "They said, you're too sensitive. That you make everything about yourself. That you micromanage the trip stuff, and it's exhausting. Amanda said the holidays would be more relaxing without you constantly questioning everything and getting upset. And my parents. Your mom tried to defend you at first, but Amanda kept bringing up last Christmas, calling it the incident. Eventually, your mom agreed. Said it might be easier without you. Your dad just followed along." "And the plan?" I asked, voice low. "To leave before you woke up. If you called, they'd say they thought you were in another car. By the time you figured it out, we'd be too far for you to join." It hit like a physical blow. But I stayed still, cold, controlled. "Thank you for telling me the truth." "I'm sorry, Natalie. I should have said something." "Yes, you should have." I hung up, and I sat on the edge of my bed, letting the full weight of it settle into my bones. Not just the betrayal of today, the pattern, the history. Years of being the responsible one, the helper, the giver, the one who held the family together without ever being truly held herself. I'd told myself families are messy, that love doesn't always look how you want it to. But this wasn't love. This was exploitation. This was emotional abuse. This was being treated as disposable by people who should have protected me. "Enough," I whispered, to no one, to myself. "Enough." I walked to my desk and opened my laptop. Logged into the resort's website. There it was, my reservation. $15,500 for the premium Christmas package. 6 cabins, private lodge access, all activities included, gourmet Christmas dinner, the works I'd been saving all year. And they were supposed to pay me back on Christmas Eve, our tradition. But another peek at Amanda's backup messages told a different story. Natalie won't cancel the reservation, even if she finds out. She cares too much about appearances. She'll probably just fly out anyway and pretend it's fine, and we still get our free Christmas vacation. Amanda had added a laughing emoji. I stared at that message. Then I typed a single response to her earlier frantic texts. "Merry Christmas." Let them think I was crushed. Let them think I was coping quietly. Let them believe I was still the same old Natalie, predictable, reliable, easy to fool. Then I made a list. Every time I'd covered for them. Every loan never repaid. Every sacrifice I'd made. Every time I'd been dismissed, forgotten, minimized. 3 pages, single-spaced, then a second list. What I wanted: respect, appreciation, reciprocity, honesty, to be treated as an equal. I picked up the phone and called Dr. Michelle, my therapist of the past year. She answered, even though it was late on Christmas Eve. "Natalie, is everything okay?" I told her everything. Surprisingly calm, measured. When I finished, there was silence. "Then, what you're describing is a profound betrayal," she said gently. "Your response is not only valid, it's healthy. The anger you're feeling is appropriate. The question is, what do you want to do with it?" "I want to stop being a doormat. I want consequences. I want them to know they can't do this to me anymore." Those are powerful goals. "So, what actions are you considering?" I shared my 2-part plan. She listened without interrupting. "Will those actions move you toward healing, or deeper into hurt?" she asked when I finished. "Both," I admitted. "It'll hurt at first, but eventually, it'll heal me because for once, I'll be choosing myself." "Then I support you," she said. "Just remember, you're not doing this to punish them. You're doing it to honor yourself." The goal is not revenge. The goal is We ended the call, and for the first time that day, I felt seen. Not by them, by me. I went back to the resort's website, clicked Contact Us, picked up the phone. Pinehurst Mountain Resort, this is Melanie. How can I assist you? Hi Melanie, I said. My name is Natalie Morgan. I have a reservation for 6 cabins starting tomorrow, December 25th. Yes, Miss Morgan. I see your reservation. Premium Christmas package for 17 guests. What can I help you with? I need to cancel the entire reservation. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. May I ask the reason? We may be able to accommodate changes. I paused, just for a moment. The reservation was for a family trip. But there's been a change. They decided to exclude me after I paid for everything. A beat of silence. I am so sorry to hear that, Melanie said, her voice softening. Let me check our cancellation policy. Keyboard clicks filled the line. Normally, this close to the holiday, it's non-refundable. But let me speak to my manager. I was placed on hold. A few minutes later, Melanie returned. Miss Morgan, my manager has approved a full refund to your card. It should post within 3 to 5 business days. Thank you, I said, breath hitching with relief. That money mattered, but Melanie wasn't finished. There's one more thing. Still planning to arrive tomorrow, correct? Yes, I said. As far as I know. Would you like us to notify them about the cancellation when they arrive, or would you prefer to handle it yourself? I considered it for a moment. Actually, if it's not too much trouble, I'd prefer they find out when they get there. A beat of silence. I understand. We'll handle that discreetly. Thank you, Melanie. You've been very kind. You're welcome, Miss Morgan, and if I may, I hope you find a way to enjoy your holiday. Despite the circumstances, when I hung up, it was as if a heavy weight lifted from my chest. Step 1, complete. Then came step 2. I set my alarm for 6:30 the next morning and started preparing. I gathered all the essentials, documents proving ownership of the house, financial records, spare keys, my passport, and personal keepsakes I couldn't bear to lose. As I worked, I booked a solo vacation to Bali, departing the following evening. A trip I had always wanted to take. One I'd never allowed myself to prioritize over family obligations. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was about to spend nearly the same amount of money on myself that I had been willing to lose on them. I wrote a detailed letter to my family, explaining exactly why I was taking these actions. No blame, no melodrama, just facts. I scheduled the email to send automatically once I boarded my flight. Then I made 2 final calls. One to a locksmith who charged extra for working Christmas Day. The other to a moving company that advertised anytime, anywhere availability. Both confirmed at premium holiday rates. Of course, money well spent. When I finally crawled into bed in the early hours of Christmas morning, I felt something unexpected. Peace. Tomorrow would be difficult, but for the first time in my life, I was choosing me. My alarm went off at 6:30 sharp. I woke, rested, focused. No grief, just resolve. I got dressed, ate a quick breakfast, and got to work. Frank, the locksmith, arrived at 7:30 on the dot, an older man, kind and quiet. I need all the locks changed, I told him. Front door, back, side entrance, garage. He nodded without question and got to work. Family issues, he asked gently, halfway through the job. You could say that, he chuckled. Holidays bring out the best and worst. Been married 42 years. My wife's family still makes me want to change the locks every few years. He winked, and for the first time in days, I smiled. By 9 o'clock, the house was fully lit. Frank handed me the new keys, and I thanked him with a generous tip. At 9:30, the movers arrived, Derek and Justin. They didn't look thrilled to be working Christmas, but they were professional. I directed them to move specific items into the garage, my parents' clothes and furniture, Kyle's gaming setup, Amanda's designer wardrobe and beauty collection. When Justin gave me a questioning look, I said, "We're doing some renovations. The family's away, want to surprise them." By 11 o'clock, the garage was neatly packed and labeled. On top, I placed an envelope with the letter and the new keys. Then I locked the garage with a separate key, leaving it in a hidden spot only the family knew about. Inside the house, I set up 3 security cameras I had ordered earlier in the week, 1 at the front door, 1 at the back, and 1 overlooking the main living area, all connected to an app on my phone. Then came the financial cleanup. I logged into our shared family account and transferred my portion out. Removed my credit card from every subscription service. Changed the passwords on all accounts I owned, but they'd been using freely. By early afternoon, my suitcase was packed. The house was secure. Everything was in place. I took one final walk through the home I had shared with my parents for most of my adult life. Not out of financial need, but a misplaced sense of duty. The house had been left to me by my grandmother 5 years ago, a surprise to everyone but maybe her. She always seemed to understand me in a way no one else did. I let my parents live there rent-free, still paid the mortgage myself, a fact quickly forgotten when family support was discussed. I stood at the front door, keys in hand, when my phone started buzzing. Right on cue. They had arrived at the resort and discovered the canceled reservation. I took my time, locked the door, loaded my suitcase into my car, then sat in the driveway and opened the messages. Mom, Natalie, there's some kind of mix-up with the booking. Please call me Dad. Your mother's upset. Fix whatever you did. Amanda, what did you do? They said you canceled everything. Call me now. Kyle. WTF, Natalie, there's nowhere to stay. Aunt Susan, we're all here at the resort. No rooms. Please call someone. And so on. Message after message. Blame, panic, zero recognition of why this was happening. I scrolled through them all, then replied in the group chat, the same one I hadn't been included in until now. I know you planned to leave without me. I know you never intended to pay me back for the trip. I canceled the reservation and received a full refund. Enjoy your Christmas. The reaction was immediate. Calls flooded in. I declined them all. Then came the texts. Mom, Natalie, you're overreacting. It wasn't like that. Dad, this is completely unacceptable behavior. Amanda, I can't believe you'd ruin Christmas for everyone over a stupid misunderstanding. Aunt Karen, we're stranded in Colorado. How could you be so selfish? I let them rant, let the messages pile up, let them feel even a fraction of the helplessness and rejection I had felt. After about 20 minutes, the tone began to shift. Mom, Natalie, please, we're sorry if you felt excluded. Let's talk. Dad, your mother is crying. Tell us what you want us to do. Amanda, okay, fine. We shouldn't have left without you. But this is extreme. Where are we supposed to go? I sent one last reply. I'm sure you'll figure something out. You're all so resourceful, especially when it comes to planning things without me. Then, I silenced my phone, started the engine, and drove toward the airport. Every mile that passed felt like a breath I hadn't taken in years. The aftermath played out mostly while I was in Bali. I spent a week in peace, reconnecting with myself, reclaiming my space in the world. I kept my phone on Do Not Disturb, checked it only once a day just to monitor the cameras and ensure there were no actual emergencies. What I saw through those cameras, and in the messages I skimmed, painted a picture of pure chaos, desperation, but not accountability, not remorse, just a family unraveling under the weight of their own actions. According to cousin Rachel, private messages were sincere and remorseful. The scene at the resort had been nothing short of apocalyptic. With no reservation and no alternative accommodations available during the holiday rush, the family was forced to scatter. Some drove hours to the nearest larger town, paying inflated, last-minute hotel rates. Others crammed into a tiny cabin Uncle Robert had managed to secure through a business contact. The grand Christmas dinner they'd been looking forward to, replaced with takeout pizza, eaten in crowded quarters, on paper plates, in silence. The group chat, which I could now see, exploded with blame and finger-pointing. Amanda and Kyle initially stuck to the story that I had misunderstood, that it wasn't personal, but discomfort and rising credit card charges brought the truth bubbling up. Fine. We planned to leave without her, Amanda finally admitted. She's always controlling about these trips, making everything about her feelings. We just wanted one Christmas without walking on eggshells. Surprisingly, my mother defended me. She paid for everything. Amanda, she's been covering these trips for years. We've barely reimbursed her. What did you expect her to do, just not react when she found out? Amanda shot back. I think we ruined Christmas for ourselves first. Kyle, in a rare moment of self-awareness, replied, for her, at least. They tried calling me hundreds of times. I didn't answer. They cut the trip short and returned home 2 days later. On December 27th, my security cameras caught them arriving with luggage in hand, only to discover they couldn't get in. I watched my father jiggle his key again and again. My mother peered through windows. Amanda paced the front lawn, phone pressed tightly to her ear. Eventually, someone checked the garage. They found my letter and the new keys. I watched them read it together, their faces falling as they took in every word. A clear, detailed recount of how they'd treated my year after year, ending with their latest abandonment. I reminded them, this house belonged to me. My grandmother left it to me. I had allowed them to stay rent-free while I paid the mortgage. That arrangement was over. They could stay for now, but beginning February 1st, they'd be expected to pay market-rate rent. I returned from Bali on January 3rd, renewed and resolute. Their cars were already in the driveway. They knew I was coming home. They were waiting in the living room, familiar faces, wearing unfamiliar expressions, uncertainty, anxiety, fear, emotions my family had never directed at me before. Natalie, my mother began, rising from the couch. We need to talk about what you've done. No, I said calmly, standing just inside the doorway. We need to talk about what you've all done. Amanda scoffed. This is ridiculous. So we left without you. It was immature, fine, but changing the locks, threatening to evict your own family. Who does that? Someone who's had enough, I replied. Someone tired of being exploited, taken for granted. Someone finally setting boundaries that should have been there all along. Exploited, my father said, with a scoff. That's a bit dramatic. I pulled out my phone, pressed play. It was a compilation of their own messages. The plans to exclude me. The conversations about letting me pay while they reaped the benefits. The way they referred to me not as a person, but a problem. They listened to their own voices, their own words, and for once none of them could speak. Silence. Then, unexpectedly, Ryan, Amanda's fiancé, broke it. I've been listening for days. And honestly, I'm appalled. If this is how you treat family, I'm not sure I want to be part of it. Amanda turned on him, stunned. You're taking her side. There shouldn't be sides, he replied. But if there are, then yes, I'm with the one who was wronged. Kyle looked down, then up at me. He's right. What we did, all of it, it was messed up. I'm sorry, Natalie, really sorry. One by one, they admitted their part, some more grudgingly than others. My mother cried. My father looked ashamed. Amanda vacillated between guilt and defensiveness. The conversation stretched into hours. We dug deep into old patterns, old wounds, old dynamics. I stayed calm, clear. I laid out my terms: rent for those who wanted to stay, repayment plans for loans, expectations for mutual respect. And if we don't agree, my father asked, slipping into his old authoritative tone, then you'll need to move out by February 1st, I replied. This isn't a discussion. In the weeks that followed, the family fractured and reshaped itself. My parents, faced with the financial reality, finally moved forward with their plan to downsize. They found a condo near my father's office and moved out by mid-January. Amanda and Ryan, they postponed their wedding, had long, difficult talks. He admitted her behavior over Christmas had changed how he saw her. She moved in with a friend. Our relationship stayed strained but civil. Kyle surprised me. He asked if he could stay, pay rent, rebuild trust. I want to make things right, he said. I want to know my sister. We became roommates, then friends, then, finally, siblings. Extended family trickled in with reactions. Some apologized, some vanished. Aunt Susan never spoke to me again. Uncle Robert mailed a handwritten letter and a check for what he estimated he'd cost me over the years. Rachel and I began meeting for coffee. We started fresh. Equal. My parents made small but real efforts. My mother started calling weekly, asking about my life, not just updating me on hers. My dad sent clumsy but heartfelt texts. How's the house? Need anything? Thinking of you. They were baby steps, but they were real. The most unexpected change came from Amanda. After 3 months of silence, she asked to meet for dinner, a neutral restaurant, a quiet corner table. I was jealous of you, she said softly. You've always been the capable one, the one who has it together. I felt like I had to prove I was better. It was easier to push you away than to admit I admired you. I didn't know if I fully believed her, but I appreciated the effort. We've got a lot to work through, I said. It won't happen overnight. I know, she nodded, but I'd like to try. if you're willing. Family therapy became part of our path forward. Not everyone showed up consistently, but enough of us did, and slowly, we began to name the patterns we'd lived inside for too long. Through it all, I kept my boundaries. No more loans without contracts. No more unpaid planning. No more silencing myself to keep others comfortable. It wasn't easy. There were setbacks, arguments, moments when the old ways tried to resurface. But I stood firm, because for the first time in my life, I knew my worth, and I was finally living a life that honored it. The new dynamics I'd established began to solidify, and slowly, a different kind of family began to emerge, one shaped not by obligation, but by choice. 6 months after the Christmas incident, I sat across from Dr. Michelle in what would become one of our final regular therapy sessions. I'd been working intensively on healing, confronting family trauma, rebuilding self-worth, and learning how to form healthier relationships. "How do you feel about your progress?" she asked. I took a moment. "I feel lighter," I finally said, like I put down a burden I didn't even realize I was carrying. I still had moments of doubt and guilt, but they were fewer now, and when they surfaced, I knew how to recognize them for what they were: old reflexes from a lifetime of conditioning. The journey hadn't been easy. After setting those first boundaries, I grieved the family I'd always wanted, the one I never really had. There were days I questioned everything. Days I wondered if I'd gone too far, if I'd hurt the people I loved. But therapy and my growing support system helped me see those thoughts clearly. They were echoes of emotional manipulation, and I no longer let them dictate my choices. "And your support network?" Dr. Michelle asked. "Stronger every day," I smiled. "My friends have shown up for me, especially once I stopped making excuses for my family. I'd reconnected with old friends from college, made new ones through a photography class. Now I had a weekly book club, a photography group that took monthly trips, and friends who checked in because they wanted to. Building a life outside my family had been essential. For too long, I'd prioritized blood ties over my own well-being. That had changed. During those 6 months, I kept contact with my family limited. No big gatherings, just individual connections with firm boundaries about what I would and wouldn't discuss, how I expected to be treated. "And the house?" Dr. Michelle asked. "Still mine," I said, confidently, words I wouldn't have said aloud. Year ago, Kyle was still renting a room. Another had been leased to a grad student. The rent covered the mortgage, and I was saving to finally renovate the kitchen this fall. I'd reclaimed my home, not just physically but emotionally. I'd repainted, redecorated. No longer preserving someone else's vision of what home should be. Now, it reflected me, and my solo travels had continued. After Bali came weekend trips: Chicago for architecture, New Orleans for the music, Portland for the food scene. Small adventures, big growth. "And where do you stand on reconciliation?" Dr. Michelle asked. I'd been thinking about that for months. "I'm open to it," I said, "but on my terms." With some family members, real progress had been made. Kyle and I were closer than ever. My parents were trying genuinely, if imperfectly. Amanda was more complicated. And Aunt Susan. That ship had sailed. "That sounds like a healthy approach," Dr. Michelle said. "Reconciliation doesn't mean returning to old dynamics. It means building new, healthier relationships if possible, and accepting when it's not." As summer turned to fall, I decided to test the waters. I invited a select group of family to a small dinner party at my home. Only those who had shown real remorse and made real effort. My parents, Kyle, Cousin Rachel and her husband, Uncle Robert, and after some reflection, Amanda. I set clear expectations in the invitation. This was a fresh start. Past grievances would not be brought up at the table. Anyone uncomfortable with that was welcome to decline. To my cautious surprise, everyone accepted. The dinner wasn't perfect. There were awkward pauses, old tension that flickered before it was redirected. But there were also real conversations, genuine interest, moments of connection that felt new. My mother brought an old photo album I'd never seen, with pictures of me. "I realized," she said softly, "we don't celebrate you enough. I want to do better." My father grilled with me in the backyard, asking questions about my work, not just to fill time, but with real interests. Kyle showed off shelves he'd built in the kitchen. His way of contributing. Amanda brought a framed photo of us as kids, arms slung around each other, smiling. "I found this while packing," she said. I'd forgotten we used to be friends. Later, over dessert, my father raised his coffee in a toast. To Natalie, he said, for having the courage to demand better from all of us. We didn't deserve a second chance. But we're grateful you gave us one. Tears welled in my eyes, not from pain but from recognition. Healing, I realized, was possible. Even if the relationship didn't look like what I'd once wished. For that Christmas was different than any I remembered. Smaller, more intentional, held at a neutral venue. Everyone contributed equally. There were no dramatic exclusions, no manipulation, no unpaid planners or ignored efforts. Gifts were thoughtful and modest. Stories were shared, some hard, some joyful. There was honesty and hope. Not everyone from the old group was there. Some wounds were still too raw. Some bridges left unbuilt, but those who came showed up with open hearts. And that mattered. As I drove home that night, I thought about the journey, from devastation to transformation, from being the family doormat to being a woman with boundaries, self and voice. The deepest lesson I learned. It wasn't just about standing up to my family. It was about learning the difference between love that diminishes and love that builds, between relationships that drain you and those that fill you, between settling for crumbs and requiring real nourishment. Sometimes love means distance. Sometimes healing means letting go. Sometimes the family you need isn't the one you were born into, but the one you create, choice by choice, connection by connection. I don't regret what I did that Christmas morning, when I canceled the reservation, changed the locks, and walked away. It wasn't revenge, it was reclamation. The first day of a new life, a life where I matter, where my feelings count, where love is a verb and not just a word. If you saw yourself in this story, if you've ever had to set painful boundaries, if you've ever questioned whether you were too much or not enough, please know this: you're not alone. Family is complicated, but your self-worth should never be the cost of belonging. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's sacred. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is walk away from what hurts you, even when, especially when, it's family. Have you ever had to set boundaries with loved ones? What was your turning point? Share your experience in the comments. If this story resonated with you, subscribe for more honest conversations about healing, boundaries, and personal growth. Thank you for listening. And remember, you deserve to be valued, respected, and truly seen.